Hello, my name is Carlos and Juris is fixing the gear. I just messed it up. Hello you, I'm Carlos and this is Juris, my sidekick. I'm gonna talk about drawings, some reference, how to prepare your design. In this episode, we're gonna go all around preparing designs, questions from Juris, and I will answer straight on from my heart.
And don't be shy, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. So let's kick off. Welcome to the Two Shop Talk, where Carlos talks about preparing designs. Let's talk step by step. You have a customer wants a tattoo. What's your preparation process?
Some years ago, I was always I was measuring the arm and drawing on a paper and everything. Now I do different. I take a picture on my phone. Some people I see do it on the tablets, take a picture and then they do the design on that picture. So I think that's much easier also to imagine how the shapes, how the flow will go when you have that picture of that place which you gonna tattoo. So that's the first thing.
The design itself, you obviously agree that it
will
be
agree with
something like this or like that, and then hopefully in your style.
Yeah, it's good that the shops have a lot of books. You can have reference from them. What I learned during the years is that every good tattoo is traced from something. Designs that actually exist somewhere in old books, illustrations, whatnot. So you change it a little bit. I think there's this old idea of not tracing it, keeping your own art. I think this is completely wrong.
So what would be wrong with yes or no with old designs and whatnot?
I think the wrong side is when you don't know how to draw and you try to do your own art. That's the worst thing you can do. And I think if you do traditional tattooing, it's actually normal to take a proper reference and do similar to what you already seen it on internet. You have to follow some rules, and if you don't know how they are all set up, you're gonna lose that old school traditional tattooing strong look. If you don't know how to draw, it's better to trace it. I've been talking with a lot of tattooers about this, and I've seen how tattooers work in different shops, and it ends up on tracing it, maybe the silhouettes, maybe the shapes, the angles, and then you can put your own art in it, add your own details. But like the fundamental has to be properly made, and it takes skills to make your own stuff, you know. And if you are not able to draw properly, the best thing to do is just to take it from the guys who already made history, you know, like even Ed Hardy or Sailor Jerry. Or
I think it's more acceptable now, because there was a big debate, I don't know, even 5 years ago, like who stole whose rose, but everyone was just tracing that one rose from back in the days.
Yeah.
And now with all the iPads, and you can go to I don't remember what the site was called, but they sell brushes for iPads, and now there's big time tattooists selling. You can buy my brush set for like, I don't know, 20-30 bucks, and you have my ship, my eagle, my this and my that, and they all say that it's all traced from the same flash, and you just piece elements together, you add your own details and all that. It's not as dramatic as it used to be like 5 years ago, when it was actually the same thing.
I remember when I started tattooing, everyone was talking about my art, everything is me. Especially the old-timer guys. But when you look at every old-school design, I'm not talking about, like, there is of course a lot of great artists who create their own way of drawing that rose, but everything is based on the same old-school fundamental thing, you know, like the frame is the same and everything is based on that. I don't know who started it all about this my art, my what. I think it's completely wrong idea.
Instagram egos, but the good old classic saying, good flash is better than shitty custom.
Yeah, exactly. And you see a lot of people based on this idea try to make their own art, and it's just not working, you know. And I think it's gonna help a lot of tattooers to get better with their designs if they actually do this skill. So I think a lot of people don't see this as the way how tattooing it should be. And if you look at realistic tattooers, it's all about based on tracing it.
And also them, I worked with many realistic tattooists, like fundamentals is good reference.
Yeah.
Because they would also be like, oh no, let's find a sharper picture of a parrot or a rose or your grandma or something.
Yeah, it's good to be original. So the one thing what I like to do, for me, I did draw a lot of old school designs and it kind of stick in my head, and I really just know how to draw them from my head, a lot of these old school designs, and it started to look like maybe a little more like my style or whatnot. That's one thing you can do. You just draw, you trace so much that your muscle memory starts to remember how things work, and then you can start to do your own twist.
Quick question.
Yes.
What's the difference, old school or traditional?
You know, when I say traditional, it can be new traditional, more old school, a little bit of Japanese based. When I say old school, that's like a sailor tattoo. Bold old ship, old school panther head. Traditional's everything that's based on tradition, but it can be more new school, more old school, whatnot. That's in my opinion. But old school, in my opinion, is when you do these sailor style tattoos.
From what I understand in one conversation with you, like if I take an old school flash, do it as is, that's old school. If I add something to it,
Old school is
it's old school
traditional.
in traditional style.
Who knows about the style? Like right now, I talked to
I'm sure there's somebody now screaming in comments.
Yeah,
This is
definitely.
not how it
Yeah.
is. So please let that know. And
Man, there is people talking about things like new old Japanese traditional. I'm like, what is these words? I don't understand.
And if you want to be extra annoying, you add post in it.
Yeah.
Post neo, new traditional.
But that's why I keep it simple. I have only traditional. Like neo traditional is more realistic, blah blah blah. But it's all traditional to me.
Custom tradition.
Yeah, custom.
Okay,
Yeah.
back to the designing. You have a picture or trace of space, you have a reference, you talk with customer, they say I want this, I like this picture, that picture, I like this your work, I like this your style. What happens next?
I do a research on Google, or if I have books close to me that I can find some reference,
Or internet.
or mostly internet. Books are good. I use books for just painting and doing my home stuff. When I'm tattooing, if someone asks for a specific idea, I usually find it on internet, and my way is I'm searching for some vintage illustration, because these old vintage artists, they did it. Illustration look like similar to tattoo designs, and
But not tattoo.
no. When I look at tattoo designs, I just look at the technique, how it's shaded, how far the shading goes and stuff like that. It's been some time since I used tattoo design for a reference. That's the one thing I try to escape from, because usually when you start to use reference as that tattoo design, it starts to look like that tattoo, and that means you kind of steal other guys'
And that's also a tip for customers to... When they look for reference, I always say you don't always have to look at tattoo designs. You like, if you like cat, look at cat drawings, cat paintings, cat sculptures. Sculptures are actually pretty cool. Whatever, because people always get stuck on that tattoo idea, but that's more like to understand what style they like. But in your case, if they go to you, you've tattooed long enough, they know your style. So.
Yeah, those who come to me. You know, like a lot of customers, they still don't have clue how actually the process is going. Like in Latvia, a lot of customers think that they have to prepare design and then they go to the artist. It's like crazy.
We don't have it that often here, but it's usually not locals, but others. They're like, yeah, I will do some work and then I'll bring it. And I was like, if you have it somewhat pieced together, bring it in. You've done your homework, we get the idea, we get what you want, where, and then leave it to us to finish it off.
Yeah, that's a big thing. And when customer comes, we try to educate them as much as possible. It's easier for you to make something that you want to do. And if they see that you know what you're talking about, they let you actually do more freedom. That's what worked for me.
So how do you found your books, you found your references, what's the next step?
First thing I do sketch, try to fill up that gap, for example, or try to fit that area where the tattoo is gonna be placed. I do the sketch.
As you could see recently on Carlos's live stream.
Yes! That's one thing. That's what I'm really confident about it. If there is some specific design I have to do that I haven't sketched much, or I know that the proportions are too hard for me, I just have to trace these guidelines from existing picture or vintage illustration or whatever it is that you find on the internet, and from there you can add your own stuff till the lines are done. Then the sketch is ready, then the lines are done, then the stencil is ready, then you try to sell it to your customer.
I think with you kind of already sell it on consultation, and then you work on final design, and then those minor changes that like, you know, if you made 15 eyeballs too many, you can cut them down.
What I understood from a lot of customers, like the way I'm talking, a lot of people like the fact that I'm really passionate about it, and they can see that I really think that this is gonna be the best shit I ever done. And I feel it that way when I talk with them.
I worked in a shop with one dude who was super all over the place, but really good at what he does. And another guy who's also really good at what he does, but like dead Slavic confident. Like, so if customer comes in, he's like, okay, I want this, I don't know, face of Jesus. He's like, cool, this space, we do this, we do that, 350 pounds, very good. People are like, he shows his work, he's like, yes, we do it realistic, all good. The other guy, he's more like traditional oriented, but somebody's like, I want a rose. He's like, oh, yeah, cool, let me do some sketches, I don't know, maybe, and people are always like, can you do something else, can you try again? And the guy's like, oh. So it's, and also when it comes to price, then like the guy's all over the place, and you just see those two people. Other one is like, this size 350. People are like, no problem.
Of course, there is a big thing about like personality and whatnot, but the confidence and believing in what you're doing plays a big role for customers to letting you what.
Let's get technical.
Yeah, please.
What do you use? The materials, because let's break the ice. He's not iPad person yet.
Not yet. I'm considering to buy an iPad.
He's flirting with the idea.
I'm so used to doing this pencil and paper. I'm using tracing paper. I do. It's almost like iPad. For me.
You have iPhone pad. You trace from your iPhone.
Yes, that's one thing I also want to say. Like I have an iPhone 10X. Yeah, I bought this because of the screen is big. So I use this screen for tracing it sometimes. Lately, what I like to do is to make designs small and then size it up, and then this old school look looks even better because there's no much space. When you draw like small size, there's not much space to put too many details. Weird details that you don't even need it. And when you draw it this small and size it up, everything is clearly seenable and with no much weird details. So this phone helps for it. Sometimes I have to trace something, I trace it from the screen, and then I build up the design. That's my iPod.
Yeah, with the iPad you can sometimes zoom in too much and start to add details, like you have a piece this big and you zoomed in into that, and you're like, oh, I've had a couple of times where I had to redraw the whole thing because I zoomed out and I'm like, I shot myself in the foot.
Yes, you should try to draw a small design and size it up, I don't know, twice as big. And you're gonna see how actually bold and cool and seenable and clear it looks. When I do big rib tattoos, I draw them also half size smaller. And I learned this from one guy from Holland, a good tattooer who's been tattooing for many years. And he showed me this already many years ago. So it's one technique again.
So what's in your tool set for preparing design?
I use
stencil paper?
Stencil paper. I use 3 different color markers. I start with yellow, red, and then pigment pencil black I use for outlining perfect stencil. Sometimes I don't have yellow, I use light gray, sometimes I use also pencils. With the pencil it's harder to do a design because the lines are super thin and you have to know how to draw properly to use pencil.
And what happens next? When it's ready, customer comes in, you have your tracing paper with the stencil.
I have the design ready. If the customer is happy, all good. If the customer is like doubting about it, always telling the customer to, dude, let's put the stencil on you. Before you say no, you're gonna see how it looks on your body, because on the page it looks different, and then we go to the mirror and everything is good.
Also for people, size scares them on paper.
Yeah.
Like even if you cut it out there, like, but once you stick a stencil on, oh, not that bad.
Yes, it is like that. Design looks flat, it looks not as cool, and the old school tattoos sometimes look too simple, but when you put it on the skin, it changes everything. And I also believe that when you put the stencil on the skin, there is no more way back. It's like, okay, I'm gonna go with it.
I always say, like, you know, we can change this. After next step, it's gonna be harder.
Luckily for me, everything worked out well. There was many customers who came and it's like, I don't know, man. And I'm like, please, let's put the stencil. It's gonna look better on the skin than you think. And when we placed it on the skin, the customer suddenly sees the whole idea, what I meant about that design. Wings go that direction, you know, or whatever it is. So yeah.
Now the question we talked million years ago about you being all freehanding stuff, and now you again not freehanding stuff. So tell me the difference about freehanding designs, which is a different universe for me, but you switched to that route and switched back.
Yeah.
Tell us all, like me, you and that guy, what's up?
I did trace a lot for some years, 3 years I think. I kind of got out of what I needed to get out of it. Now I trace it only when I feel like I need to, when I need to fill the gap or something specific. Like today I had to freehand background. The reason why I stopped freehanding is because I feel like I'm losing a lot of time and I'm letting customer wait for too long. You know, sometimes the freehand can be as 3 hours long and then the tattooing is 2 or 3 hours, and it's just like, I think for customers it's just not always a pleasant experience if the customer is waiting for that long. Some customers love that I freehand. They just sit and look at this thing, what I'm doing, and they're like, oh wow, amazing. Most of them, they just want to get done with it. Sometimes when I freehand, I can like draw something, not be happy, clean it up, clean it off, draw it again, clean it off, and it's gonna take ages, and I think customers like not good with that. That's one thing. Other thing is like, I rather do sketch at home. I think I can do much quicker than drawing on the skin. So it's all about like losing time, spending less time with customers. That's why I stopped freehanding that much. But I still do freehand from time to time.
For need be. Okay, and my last question I think would be, what's wrong with the iPad?
Like every new tool, man, I'm not used to it. I'm annoyed. First of all, the paper, everything is just, I love it. I love pencil, I love paper. Of course I can talk about the other tattooers also talk, is like the designs on iPad look a little more stiff, but I think if you know how to do it, they don't look stiff. I think for me it would look stiff for a couple of years. I just don't know how to draw on iPad, and I think I need to get used to it. But I want to buy that thing just for my like t-shirt drawings where I need that digital art. For tattooing, I feel so much more confident with just drawing, especially like last couple of years. I have better and better feeling to all do all these things, so I don't see a reason to.
And the price.
Yeah, but I just bought iMac, and I'm planning to buy the tablet.
So you're there. You're on the way.
Yeah, I'm there. But I'm not gonna use it for tattooing, I guess.
In the beginning.
Yeah, that's what everyone says. Before you get junky, you say you never gonna try it.
So let's run through all the process from the beginning. You have a message, you have a customer, bim bam, consultation. Run through us once again.
So, customer ask for design, do a research, check internet, check your books, find a new good reference. If you feel comfortable, draw it your own, but most of the people who are, especially who are new, they have to trace it. Don't be afraid of it, it's gonna look better. After that, do a proper sketch, do a proper outlines so the stencil is clean. Then try to sell it to the customer. Tell them that it's the best you can do. Because you have to believe what you're doing, otherwise you're not good. Place it on a place, show the customer how good it looks on the skin. After that, just go for it too. Try to make it as less painful as possible.
Don't mess it up.
Try to don't mess it up. And what last thing, use even reference when you're tattooing, like the realistic guys doing it. There is the reason why everyone's do put the printed out reference so you see how the shadings go. Don't be afraid of all that. Tattoo will look better.
Sometimes have multiple things
Yeah.
where you're like, I like the skull on this one and the flame on this one, so you'll be like, okay.
That's the way to do it till your muscle memory remembers how to do it without all these references. Old school, traditional.
On internet, on YouTube, by Carlos. So if you have suggestions, leave them down in the comment section. If you have questions, don't be too annoying to Carlos. Feel free them to ask, and also
Bring it
other
on.
people can chip in. And you know, it's not just comments; it's also chat. Somebody can say something, and somebody can say like, "Oh, I think it's this and that." So let's make a YouTube in a chat room. And,
Don't be afraid to judge me if you feel like it. I
Yeah.
want to hear what your opinion for sure.
subscribe to his OnlyFans and all that.
11 years in my OnlyFans. Cha-para.
Chippada. Thank you for watching. Leave comments, like the buttons, like all the buttons, subscribe to all the comments and all that stuff. And Jesus. And a selfie time. Take a selfie and send it to Carlos. He will appreciate it. Link down in the description.
Yeah, only man chest.
But this part, center.
Yeah, the V-shaped man chest.
Okie dokie.